40,000 years ago, the world was frozen. The wind cut like knives. Glaciers stretched for miles. And the breath of survival turned to mist before vanishing into the endless white. Yet somehow, they lived. Our ancestors, fragile, barefoot, armed with nothing but courage, faced the Ice Age and won. How did they do it? How did humans, with no metal, no cities, no machines, endure a world that could freeze a mammoth solid overnight? Let's travel back to the edge of time, when survival wasn't a choice, it was the only law. The Earth trembled beneath ice sheets 2 kilometers thick. Temperatures dropped to -40. Entire continents disappeared beneath glaciers. But in the heart of the cold, in Africa, Europe, and Asia, small human tribes refused to vanish. They huddled in caves near flickering fires, wrapped in animal skins, stitched with bone needles. Each spark, each ember, meant life. Their day began not with the sunrise, but with the question, will we survive tonight? They hunted beasts that could crush them, woolly mammoths, giant bison, saber-toothed cats, but they hunted smart. Stone blades carved from flint, spears hardened in fire, traps dug into frozen soil. Okay? Every kill was a victory, not just for food, but for time. Okay? One successful hunt could mean warmth, tools, clothing, and another day to breathe. Okay? But food was only half the battle. The real enemy wasn't hunger, it was nature itself. Blizzards that lasted for weeks. Darkness that swallowed entire months. Even fire couldn't chase away the endless cold. So how did they keep going? They learned something extraordinary to adapt faster than any other creature on Earth. They studied the world around them. From the wolves, they learned teamwork. From the mammoths, endurance. From the stars, direction. And slowly, humanity evolved not just in body, but in mind. They painted on cave walls stories of hunts, spirits, and survival. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were remembering, dreaming, becoming human. But what if it wasn't strength that saved them? Not the spear, not the fire. Oh, no. It was something far greater, the power to imagine. Imagination turns survival into civilization. Picture this, a cave deep in France 38,000 years ago. A small group gathers around a weak flame. One woman crushes red ochre between stones, mixing it with animal fat. Then, with trembling hands, she paints the first story known to humankind. Not words, but symbols of life, of dreams, of meaning. That moment changed everything. Because once humans could imagine, they could plan. And once they could plan, they could conquer the impossible. They began to build shelters using mammoth bones as pillars covered with hides to block the wind. They stored meat in frozen pits and discovered by accident that cold preserved food longer. They followed herds across continents, crossing ice bridges between lands, bridges that no longer exist today. The tribes learned to trade amber for flint, shells for pigments. Each exchange carried not just goods, but knowledge. A technique, a story, a belief passed from one fire to another. And slowly, the isolated sparks of survival connected, forming the first networks of humanity. But the Ice Age wasn't merciful. Entire clans vanished. Volcanic winters darkened the skies for years. Yet even when the world seemed to end, they adapted again. They learned to make fire anywhere with friction, stone, or spark. They discovered the warmth of community, that together they could outlast the storm. And as generations passed, evolution rewarded them with sharper minds, stronger bonds, and deeper emotions. They began to sing. Music echoed in caves, simple rhythms that warmed hearts when fire could not. Drums of bone, flutes of ivory. Through rhythm, they found hope. Through hope, they found strength. Even in the darkest night, humans looked up at the stars, wondering if someone, somewhere, was watching back. That curiosity, that relentless desire to know more, became the heartbeat of our species. And then, as the world slowly warmed, the ice began to melt. Rivers formed, forests returned. Human tribes followed them, spreading across continents, carrying with them the fire of survival. From those who faced the Ice Age came the first farmers, builders, and dreamers. Civilization itself was born from frozen hands that refused to give up. So the next time you feel small against the storms of life, remember this: you carry the DNA of survivors, of dreamers who fought against the impossible and won. 40,000 years ago, they didn't just survive the Ice Age. They shaped the destiny of every human that came after. Because survival wasn't their story. It was just the beginning of ours.